and Pie starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
The Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Well, it kind of is Seminole Headlines. I'll explain here in a second. I'm Jeff. There is Ira. And Tom Lang filling in for Corey Clark. Corey is perhaps puking somewhere.
It's been a hostile takeover. Tom Lang is our captain now.
Oh, man. All right, so let me explain. There's a couple things going on simultaneously before we say yay sausage. You can see if you're watching on Warchant TV, first of all, thanks so much, as always, like and subscribe. But you'll see we've got a little bit different setup with the cameras. I think this is going to work. Excited about it. You can see we're in boxes here, but we're all in the same room here. We're all in the same room. Tom's right there like he would normally be if this was the JCS. And Ira's directly across from me. I could reach out and touch him. You can almost probably see my hand if I wanted to. Yeah, we're right there.
The best part about this is that Corey was the squeaky wheel that got the grease. Corey's been complaining about
he's vain.
He didn't like the fact that we weren't getting his best side. He wasn't getting the straight ahead, look ahead angle. Yeah. And so we've upgraded. We've improved the facilities in here. And then he goes and gets sick.
Yeah, very first time out the box with a new setup, he gets sick. So anyhow, those of you watching, this is obviously for you. You can see that it's a little bit different. But Corey is literally there's one of these classic sick today. So he is out today. We don't want him anywhere around us when he's puking. I don't, anyhow. That's one thing that's improved since the pandemic, is everybody understands it's okay to stay home. If you're sick, you keep your ass at the house.
I don't know. I think he wanted us to be the trial balloons to see if the new setup worked. And then now that he's satisfied, he's going to show up for the second segment.
He may show up.
He's
Kirk Gibson. He's going to Kirk Gibson us in the third segment.
He'll go, you nailed it, Lang. You nailed it. And then he'll sit down.
So this is a pseudo Jeff Cameron show / Seminole Headlines. We have the crew plus Ira, if you will, in that sense, because Tom and I are here every day. So there's that. And now I should say, thanks to Register Sausage as we get things started today. And once again, I'll pay attention to the video because you'll see a 30% savings for headliners through Sunday. And you'll see the promo code is Lonnie, as it should be. That would be to celebrate the Seminole softball team taking on Florida this week.
Oh, yeah, Ben called me this morning and said, we need to do a promo code for FSU softball.
Sure.
They're 45-5.
Dang.
They just dominate everybody they play. They just beat a bunch of ranked teams. I think they're now 12-2 on the season against ranked teams, something like that. Mm-hmm. They got a chance to sweep Florida. They beat Florida tomorrow night. It'll be a sweep of the Gators, which doesn't happen very often. That's a very good softball team. They beat them earlier this season. And so we came up with the promo code Lonnie, Lonnie. And Ben's going to give 30% off at registermeats.com. If you order anything you want, order it all. Order all the different varieties they have. And he's going to honor the 30% off on all of your purchase until through this Sunday. So take advantage of that.
So indeed, at that point, I would say, yay, sausage.
We're all saying yay, sausage.
Yeah, that's good. At 30% off for yay, sausage. That's going to do it.
And that's a topic near and dear to Tom's heart. Tom's a big FSU softball fan.
Yeah, I am indeed. Yeah. Can I say that? I'm part of the club. I'm part of the club down there. I like them.
Yeah. Well, they're easy to like. They win a lot. And Lonnie's awesome. And the girls are exciting to watch play. They're athletic. They are intense in a good, I want my teams to have some what for, as I like to say, and they have a ton of what for. You see it every game. I love them. I love them too. And the sport, and I've talked about this a lot, I've had to come a long way, but that sport came a long way, and I met them in the middle. That sport is fun to watch now. And I say that because I caught myself watching a game, softball, without Florida State in it. I was flipping around, and I caught myself watching a couple innings. That would have never, ever, ever happened.
Slap bunt arrow.
No, couldn't do it.
Well, it got the edge to him, but then also in the biggest moments of the game, they're just smiling and laughing.
Oh,
what is this? How is this possible? You can be both. They are both.
I'm envious of it. A lot of people talk about the psyche of athletics and athletes in general, and whether it be individual sports or team sports. And I have to explore this a lot with the golf stuff that I do on SiriusXM. And Trey is forever talking to me about that, about meeting the moment, understanding the magnitude of the moment, but also trying to have fun. Like, this is the stuff you prepared for, to put yourself in these positions. So few people can do that. That softball team does do it. I was going to say to a man, but to a woman, they do that.
And it's the combination of A, being really good, but B, being so prepared.
Yeah.
It's funny. My oldest daughter just finished up her senior thesis in college, and all the professors told her how well they couldn't believe how together she answered every question,
Mhm.
everything they threw at her. She just bam, 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 so confident. And that's not really her. She's not a public speaker, but she knew this front and back. She knew the information, and it just speaks to the power of preparation. And when you're in those moments, another guy I think of, Rayquan Evans at the free throw line. Rayquan Evans may not have been the best basketball player,
Right.
not one of the best point guards in the country, but if you put him on the free throw line, man, he had that look that you see from that softball team. He had no doubt he was going to knock down those free throws.
Some people never get there. It's crazy. Even some professionals never get there. Their talent gets them, their hard work gets them there, but they never find the mental side of things to a point where they can relish the opportunity. I think you have to want to be there. I think you have to want to hit that shot, hit that free throw, make that play, whatever it might be, execute that pitch, have that AB. I think you have to want to do that. And I think there are people who, no matter their talent, would rather not be in that position. And if you flinch even a little bit, the chances of consistently having success with that are pretty small. So it's really cool if you have a collection of people, and to where like the vast majority of them, you can tell, oh, I get a chance to shine here. I get a chance to execute what I've wanted to do. That's just it's a great job of recruiting, evaluating, figuring out who does have that. Coaches look for those things too, in addition to the physical.
Yeah, it's the culture. It's the culture that you build. I mean, we know, just as a JCS example, we bring up Lee Westwood all the time, PGA Tour professional. Well, if Lee Westwood has a 2-footer and it really matters, it's still a 2-footer, but it's not going in. It's never going in.
It's a toughie.
Well, the problem is some people, again, they remember the failures, and that's kind of the whole thing. Remember, when Jimbo brought in Trevor Moad, may he rest in peace, the mental conditioning expert that he had, and it was part of that program in the early 2010s. One of the things that he stressed was everything's positive. And he didn't like the term sports psychology because the connotation was you're trying to get over something. And his thing was, and the message he gave to all FSU's players was, and he would give these CDs and DVDs to all these positive moments to just build that mindset for EJ Manuel, Chris Thompson, Christian Ponder, and those guys. And it worked. I mean, there's something to that. Just like when you're out playing golf and you don't hit it in the water.
Right.
You visualize where it's going.
Where should I land this? Yeah.
And the great ones can do that consistently.
Jimmy Johnson, I hate to give him that much credit, but he was way ahead of his time. I remember a 60 Minutes or a 2020 interview. He was at the height of his game, the zenith of his powers, right? And he was in Dallas when they were winning Super Bowls, right? And he said he's never told a running back, whether it was in college or pros, don't fumble. He's never said that. Like, you never introduced the idea of a negative. It's a fun topic. Like, you go on this for hours and hours and hours.
Well, and that's why I didn't like Ja'Kai Douglas talking about the catch against Miami. And because he said that his whole mindset the whole way down the field was don't drop it. And he almost dropped it.
He tried to.
When you watch it, he did almost drop it. It actually was kind of like, those weren't the friendliest receptors of a football I've ever seen. It was like,
It was almost, the Jacksonville State moment too. The 4th down with McKenzie. It almost was a redux of that play.
Yeah. No. It's unsettling. All right. So this has been an interesting week, and let's just kind of go back since we last got together. We were talking at length the last time we got together, anyhow, about a couple of things. One of them being the baseball team and how schizophrenic they can be, but how they're fully capable of beating really good teams. And if you look at the record against top 25 teams, that's exactly what they've done. They've beaten down some of the best teams in the country, and at times they've done it very convincingly. This weekend proved to be another one of those moments, and it was perfect because they got both the pitching and we didn't count the last game, unfortunately, but they got both the pitching, but the bats came alive. The ABs were better, and the consistency, it was all there, and they take down TCU. Who knows? They may have ended up sweeping that series. They were up in game 3 before the rains came, but they get the 2 wins there. That vaults them back into a top 15 RPI, top 12 RPI. Now they get an opportunity. Well, it's tough here for this stretch of games. It's not great games with Stetson and this weekend. But after that, you got a series against Miami, which is going to end up being huge. I don't know what to make of them except to say that when they play well, they're capable of beating anybody in the country. And when they go through the motions and or play poorly against these teams that are unranked, they lose to them consistently.
I will say that it's been kind of consistent throughout the season that they don't stay down necessarily if they're behind. They will come back. They've blown a lot of leads.
Sure.
They've lost a lot of games late because of the bullpen issues, or defensive issues. But it's not like this is a team that, man, if you get up 2 runs on this team, they're done. They will battle back, which is a really good sign, especially, with the front end pitching.
Well, if you think about it, that part of it, there's the good, the bad, and everything in between with every coach in any sport or player or person for that matter. That is the good of Mike Martin Jr., the competitor, right? I do think that there's red ass throughout this team because he's a red ass. And he said from day one that was going to be who they were. And I think they take it at times a little further than I would like. I mean, it's not always fun to look at.
There's no thinking about it. They do.
Terrell throwing the bat into the dugout.
Yeah, I mean, just some stuff like that every now and again, right? But that's who they are, and that does speak to toughness. They do have that, and they have other aspects of what they do that I don't like, but there is a toughness to them. And now I'm just – it's weird because baseball's that sport. You can't all or nothing it from week to week. So they're an odd team that may end up playing exceptionally well. We touched on softball a moment ago, and then, of course, you wrote the article, and we talked about it briefly yesterday on the JCS, but the draft happened, and Florida State had one player drafted, and he was a transfer, and it's just – I think the collective fan base, again, is reminded of how far they have to go. I would also point out, while I'm promoting warchant.com, that Corey Clark's piece is up with he and Mike Norvell speaking about Coach Norvell's answered his question a year ago and what he thought about what he was saying at that moment. And it's a good watch and it's a good read.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. I know we were going to talk about it. I'm sad that Corey's not. Well, I'm not sad that Corey's not here. I'm sad that he's sick.
I'm sad that he's sick, but he would have celebrated his question yet again, which has now been done 57 ways to Sunday.
Which he did exactly in that column.
Yes.
A little bit of tongue in cheek. But yeah, no, people, I would really encourage you to go watch that video. He's got a column with it as well. You can read it, Warchant, but also the video. The video is the best thing. It's him sitting down with Mike Norvell, going back through that question, and then talking through his mindset as he was answering the question. For people that don't remember, I'm sure anybody listening to this probably does, but it was after their 0-4. They lost to Louisville, had really that ugly first half where they were down 31-7. They come back, make it a game, but fall to 0-4. And Corey asked him, what is it, what are you telling recruits at this point? And he went on a 5-minute. Some people called it a rant. It wasn't a rant. Yeah, diatribe's a good word for it. Where were you when I was editing his story? I think I went with speech. I should have gone with diatribe.
Certainly text.
Put him in here for you. Put him in the rotation as copy editor. Come on,
Tom's already in. Tom's first out of the bullpen. Now I know I got a crafty right-hander out of there. I'm here for you, brother. But yeah, it was a diatribe, and it was good. I mean, it resonated with the fan base. I think it also resonated with the players at the time. I think the players were retweeting it and sharing it like, hey, that's our guy. And I don't believe it turned around the season, but I think it was indicative of what the players see out of Mike Norvell. And it was a chance for the fans to see it. And even the media, we're out there all the time, but it's hard to convey the way he is. But that is one of the things he said is, if you're at practice at 7 a.m., this is who you see. And if you're at the end of a loss or at halftime of a loss, this is who you see. And I think that resonated to the fans in a big way.
It's also 100% accurate. And I think it's one of the reasons, like if you remove, look, Tom and I are not objective about this as Noles, but I would say that even if I just had come here to work solely and just watch this program so that I could report on it, talk about it, show context, whatever. He's an eminently likable coach because I think he's a good coach. It may not work out here. It may not. I hope so. Doesn't always work out for guys, I mean, if they have a bad season this year, I'm here to tell you, I don't think it's going to work out for him. But he is consistent, wildly consistent. And that messaging that he has taken on from day one has remained consistent across all of his coaches and their preparation and his interactions with all players. You want that rewarded. I want that rewarded in the workplace. I want that with guys that show up every day and bust their ass to make it right. I want them to have success. We've all been around the guys that are wildly inconsistent in any line of work. The guys who don't show up every day, who you have to worry about whether or not they're going to get the job done. Like that, this coach isn't that guy. He's the guy that's showing up every day. Now, hopefully it gets done. But I like that answer, this video, the consistency of message, it's omnipresent. We see it all the time. I just hope it works out.
Yeah, the thing that stuck out to me was one moment where they're going back and forth, and he says, I've only had 3 losing seasons in my life.
35 years.
2 of them are here at Florida State. I'm like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, the fans are like,
we know.
We got you on that one.
Yeah,
and we're well aware of the seasons that you've lost. Yes.
But he has wound that tightly and intense. He's got that intensity about him, even around the Moore Center. Like I remember before spring practice started, actually, I was in the elevator, and they kind of were like, oh, there's a media member. It was him and Derek were getting there because it was before his opening press conference. I think they wanted just a moment to be able to collect themselves. And they're like, they come in, they trudge in. And we had crosstalk, and it was fine for whatever it was, 3 floors. but he is that guy. He's
Oh.
the guy that's on that video with Corey. He's that guy that was in that viral video. Like sometimes he goes when he talks to the media and kind of turns it off, and you don't see as much intensity. You see some monotone, but truly, when the camera's on and off, for the most part, he is an intense dude.
And here's what the other side of it, and the reason that's so important, because that's how Jimbo was years 1 through 5 or 6, and that's who he was until he lost his way. And then he lost his way and started accepting a lot of things and letting a lot of things go. The program started to slide. Then he tried to kind of ratchet it back up.
Do it.
And you can't do it once you've deviated, you can't get back in that lane no matter how hard you try. And I think that's why it's important, even when you're 0-4, to not change things up, because then that sends a symbol to, I mean, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's trying something new every other week.
Yeah, I was going to say, it shows that you don't believe what you preach. And the second somebody cannot trust you, which is what would happen if your word is not believable, the second that you show that weakness or that inconsistency or the willingness to acquiesce to failure, then guys will follow suit, and you can't have that. And so that, listen, they've made some colossal errors here. The Jacksonville State game will always linger over them.
It was good to hear him say that, right?
Yeah,
he did. Yeah, he's like that'll. I forgot how he phrased it, but he said something like, that's awful, and that will be with us forever. Basically.
It will. He knows. I mean, he's a realist. I think he's pragmatic in that way. He knows, because that was an inexcusable moment. And it's good to, once again, the consistency there of accepting that, understanding that you're responsible for that. Now, if they go on to win 11 games, let's say sometime really soon, let's hope, knock on wood, he'd still have that haunting and hanging over them. It will always bother him. Hopefully there's many more positives along the way so that it's a distant memory, but it will always be there. And by the way, this isn't to take a shot at Jimbo, of which I've taken tons. I remember after the Boston College effort, the non-effort, was that a Friday night game? Whatever. Yes. It was a night. Yes, it was a Friday night game. They weren't trying, and they got bludgeoned.
Nobody wanted to be there, including him.
The aftermath of that, when I interviewed him on that Sunday, he owned it during the conversation.
It was so crazy because he owned it to you, but then tried to defend it on Monday.
Went in reverse course on the Monday. Yeah. To me on that Sunday, he said, that's never happened since I've been here. This disgusts me. I can't believe it happened. It's unacceptable. It's never happened before. It'll never happen again. I can't, all of that, owned all of it. That Monday, it was a deflection fest, and he was in denial that they quit, never showed up, however you want to phrase it. We already knew there were indicators that there were problems and that this plane was going in the side of the mountain. That secured it for me. I'm like, okay, well, from Sunday to Monday, we're just going to change how we feel about this thing. So yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Same thing happened with NC State in 12.
Oh yeah.
That Monday presser was the execution, but not the Sunday night interview. The Sunday interview was fine. He's like, what do you want to talk about? Ask me as many questions as you want, because sometimes he'd be great after a loss. And that's the way he was with your one-on-one. But then on Monday, it was execution fest.
I still wish we had that video. Yeah, Paul Thomas put together the video of all the times he used execution or execute, blaming it all on the players. And he had it, and we didn't run. I think, Gene decided might not be a great idea to run that video.
It's a little aggressive.
But it was incredible.
We were all in the same room. I was in the room with you when that happened, when the press conference happened. And if you can remember the collective disbelief of everybody in the room. After he left the room, everybody went, what just happened here? He just basically said, look, I'm a great coach. These players suck. That's what he might as well have said. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio. Warchant TV continues in a moment.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
When I get home from work, I'm ready to relax. So I call Swain Pools and Spas to put my pool in the back. I call Swain Pools and Spas. Now I'm soaking up the fun when I want to.
Truckloads of new and used Caldera and Hot Spring Spas are available now at Swain Pools and Spas. Don't wait. Get to Swain Pools and browse the best inventory to find the spa of your dreams. These won't last long, so come see us today. Just look for the huge sign on Tharp Street or call 386-7113 for Swain Pools and Spas.
I know what you're thinking right now. Where can I find a place to get my car fixed and also check out some awesome new hot tubs and spas while I wait? Well, you're in luck. Because when you bring your car or truck in to get serviced at Tallahassee Car Care, it's under the same roof as Swain Pools and Spas for tires, brakes, bodies, tune-ups, oil changes, and all the service you need to get back on the road. Choose the certified technicians at Tallahassee Car Care. Drop by our shop on Tharp Street or visit online at TallahasseeCarCare.com.
Matt, when you think of a successful Southern cookout, what do you think of first?
The food, of course.
The food, but you got to think about the food prep. And Hearth and Patio has thought about that with their awesome grills.
What kind of grills?
Fire Magic, Broil Master, Blaze Grills, Kamado Joe. Matt, they got it all.
Wow.
Custom outdoor kitchens. Create an outdoor cooking space.
You'll be the envy of your neighborhood.
You will be the envy of your neighborhood, and you'll make a lot of people jealous. That's because you called Hearth and Patio at 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282. Or you can visit Hearth and Patio online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com.
It's a backyard barbecue party. What's Lee Holcomb's number one more time?
850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282. For Hearth and Patio, they not only keep the home fires burning, Hearth and Patio will elevate your grilling game.
Nice.
Nice indeed.
This is Sister Dot Brown, reminding you to tune in every Sunday morning from 9 to 11 for good gospel music here on 93.3 every Sunday morning. Dot Brown.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true. But I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Here we go. Your next chance to grow your green this spring and win $1,000 is coming up at 2 p.m.
I just won $1,000.
Listen for the keyword at the top of the hour. Then enter that keyword online at realtalk93.com.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
A little bit different version of Seminole Headlines today. Of course, Ira and I, always part of that. Tom sitting in for an ailing Corey Clark. Hope you're doing better, Corey. Feel better, buddy. We joke a lot, but obviously not feeling well. He's under the weather, couldn't come in today. So Tom is filling in, and we'll get to your headliner questions in the second hour as well. I guess now all the thoughts are on what's going to happen in the transfer portal for Florida State. And I know, Ira, as we go through into the summer months, I know you're doing a feature on each segment group, and that'll vary. I know you did running backs this time around. And I think it's important that because you and I had this discussion yesterday, that as we do this, in comparison to what came up.
Right.
Yeah. As we give out grades, in comparison to what?
Yeah, kind of the idea with this feature, and Tom's doing videos that go with them.
Yep.
So people, the Warchant TV audience, can make sure to watch those videos. They'll be similar, but some slight additions between the written one and the video. But one of the things we wanted to do is just kind of assess where they're at. Like, what does this group look like? How much talent and experience do they have? What else do they possibly need? Is this a position where they need maybe to go get somebody in the transfer portal? And then also kind of give an evaluation of a grade, something subjective. We could talk through it of what this team looks like, what this position looks like in comparison to the rest of the ACC. So we gave the running back group a B, which I think, when I first said a B, I mentioned to you a B, you kind of raised your eyebrows because in the world of college football,
it wouldn't be.
It may not be a B.
Right.
It's probably more like a C plus somewhere in that ballpark. But in the ACC, I think it's safely in that B range. We're talking about maybe somewhere between like 3 and 5, 2 and 5, 3 and 5 of the ACC teams. This running back group, and it could be better. I mean, Trey Benson could be better than we expect, but it took Trey Benson being really good this spring for us to to think it's a B. If not, because that was a position we were all concerned about coming into the spring.
It's actually exciting, right? Because I'll say this, Tom, real quick. You and I talked about this on the show. I went into camp really quite worried about the running back position. I thought, man, I don't know. We got a kid coming in here as a transfer with a knee injury, off of a knee injury. So we'll see if he's all the way back or if he's close to being all the way back. I love the story that is Trayshawn Ward. I think that's a great story. He's an easy kid to root for. He has value.
And he's a nice player.
Yeah, he's a nice player. He's a nice player. That's a good way of describing it. But, Lawrence Toafili, he's not big enough. He's a splash player. He's a kid that if you catch him in space, he's got a chance to make a big play. Wildly inconsistent a year ago. Really didn't ever catch on and take that next step. He's still not big enough in my eyes, just at camp. I do think he offers you something, but you have to really kind of design certain packages for him, right? And then from there, I don't know that there's consistency, whether it's Williams or Campbell or any of these guys that we would go on to say we like. I mean, I like Rodney Hill. I like guys like that. I mean, it's been fun watching some of these guys, but we don't really know what we have week in and week out with those guys. And so I would have said that compared nationally to the better football teams, this was a kind of a weak link on the team. Coming out of camp, Trayshawn Ward was better, and he was good at the end of last year, and he was better in camp because he feels the pressure of Benson, who really showed out. And
plus the confidence to know he's done it.
He's done it, yeah.
He ran for 600 yards last year. He's had success in college football.
He's a tough kid too, man. He's tough, and he really cares. So he's always going to work. But Benson, to me, jumped off the page. He was one of the first guys in camp. We went, oh, I see why they brought him in. And then when he showed that top end speed to go with that size, he's got some what for to finish runs when we see him in pads as well. Yeah, man, if that guy's healthy and then Trayshawn's a change of pace, that's a better unit than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah, with Benson, what's interesting to me is just how patient he is at that size. Usually a back who is 6'1" and all of 215 pounds, you think that they're just going to, they'll hit the hole first and ask questions later.
James Wilder.
Right, exactly. Yes. But Benson also shows a combination of the speed, the toughness, but then also the patience required, especially in the system. The thing that, to me, if you're just grading on athleticism at the position, yeah, I think it's a B. But if you put that together with this scheme, that's
a good point.
Running backs, including one who just, he didn't get drafted, and Jayshon Corbin. I saw he got I think it's $110,000 guaranteed from the Giants, which is a pretty good haul for an undrafted free agent. But a player like that, you turn him into a home run threat, somebody who can't be drafted, 7 rounds by the NFL, but he's a home run threat. You put that scheme together with these players, especially with what Trey Benson might be, and you might be trending towards a B+.
The scheme and Jordan Travis.
His
running ability, and the conflict he puts defenses in, and that plus the scheme, plus the things they do from blocking, it's a really good marriage, and it's why they could be. I think they finished like 5th in the conference in rushing last year. They could finish top 2 or 3, even throwing the ball more often because of all of that. I mean, it could be a really good group. There's still not like a lot of elite guys. Now, Trey Benson may end up being an elite guy,
right.
But he's had how many yards at college football?
Right.
20 or something. I mean, he hasn't done it yet.
But he certainly looks different. That's the thing. Everything about him looks different than the other dudes on the roster.
And the point, both you guys saying that about him looking different, how infrequently have we said that about offensive additions to this football team?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because even guys have gotten drafted the last 4 or 5 years, it's almost always been defensive guys. Very rarely have they. Auden Tate was the only offensive skill position guy in the last, I don't know, almost a decade. And he was a 7th round wide receiver.
Time for our weekly thank you, Joel Davis moment of the program. So that would be a doffing of the cap for the two of us wearing caps today. He writes, Norvell has proven he can score points even with lesser talent he had in previous years. So if it's true defense wins championship, it's going to be a fun year. Yeah, I think they're getting better. I continue to repeat myself on that front because I am apt to point out areas of weakness consistently. I don't want us to start to think that we're something we're not, or to project to the fans that Florida State is about to be a 10-win team when they're not. I think that their frontline talent, in terms of the 22 starters, is better, as it should be, year to year, right? They're getting better players, but they are still awfully thin in areas when it comes to quality depth. They don't have as much of that right now that they need. And football's a game, a war of attrition, as they say. Guys are going to get hurt. And we all know in this room, and I think Florida State fans everywhere understand this, if Florida State has 1 or 2 offensive linemen go down, guys, all of this other stuff matters not at all. They're screwed. They're screwed. I'm watching closely the portal the portal, guys. Get me serviceable backups. It'd be great if you found another starter like you did a year ago in the portal. Obviously, when we go back and look at it, and you and I first guessed this, and we can tease him because he's not here, Corey didn't think it was going to matter much. But when you bring in a guy who ends up being your best offensive lineman in the offseason, obviously that's a huge boon. You can't always trust that. But if you get something akin to a quality backup, then you have a chance to sustain an injury or two for a game or two and maybe not fall off a cliff.
Well, and I think we saw that this spring with the wide receiver position. They went out and got 4 Power 5 transfer wide receivers. One of them, Winston Wright, goes down and may not be available.
Tragic.
Now all of a sudden you're like, man, you're really thin at wide receiver again in terms of, I mean, you've got a couple guys that you like, but you don't have a lot of guys that you like.
No.
And so that's a position that you're still, now there's some younger guys that could keep coming and maybe they'll get some more out of those guys. But in terms of proven wide receivers, you don't have a ton after those first 2 or 3 guys. And then you look on defense, if anything happens at defensive end, you don't have a lot of depth there. Anything happens at cornerback. I mean, I think that's the one position some people are a little surprised that they're targeting a junior college cornerback who's on campus this week. I believe he's on campus this week. I think that's what Michael reported for an official visit. And I think a lot of people think, oh, man, we're so loaded in the secondary. Not really at that other cornerback spot. I mean, what we saw in the spring was a lot of Renardo Green, a lot of Greedy Vance, the young guys. But it's not, I don't know that you feel great about that other corner position opposite to Cooper. So that's the position. If this kid's really good, then maybe it makes sense. I wouldn't have thought a corner would have been how you used one of those few transfer spots you've got. But if you want to be good there, you might have to do it.
Greedy Vance is too handsy for me, man. That's going to be a problem with the way the ACC calls football.
In this league,
in this league,
problem.
They call everything. And so he's way too handsy for my taste. And he's not elite. Renardo Green, good for him accepting the challenge, performing much better. Is he going to be an elite corner for you? No. Is he going to be serviceable? Maybe slightly above serviceable?
He's not going to embarrass you there.
Right. But he's
I
not
don't know
going
that
to be a game-changing player. So I get it. But I think we're all really hyper-focusing on more of the positions of need that we talked to about wide receiver, offensive line, maybe a defensive end, maybe a linebacker, something like that. I mean, I think that's what we're looking at.
If you've got upwards of 5 spots to fill, and they're going to make the numbers work however they make them work. But if you got 5 spots to fill, then okay, go for a corner. If you got like 2 or 3, that's a tough sell.
I gotta think they believe they're going to get 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Because you got to think at least one. I mean, there's no chance they're not signing at least one offensive lineman.
You're
they're
damn
going
right.
to sign at least one offensive lineman.
Yeah.
If Jeff had his druthers, it would be 3.
Yeah, maybe all of them.
They're at least going to sign one. And then, you would think likely wide receiver, and then a pass rusher, possibly a linebacker. The order I think would be offensive line, wide receiver, pass rusher, linebacker, and corner.
Right.
But it would be nice to have a really, really strong, if that kid's good, like he was a JUCO All-American or something, it might be worth it.
So here's a quick question then for fall camp. If you were listing, say, a top 3 of guys you're watching the most closely, like as in they're important to the success of the team.
2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you.
Caden Lyles?
Caden Lyles.
That has to be
huge on
in the
my
top
list.
3,
well,
right?
when I walked out of spring, bitterly disappointed at how little we saw of Caden Lyles. Now, there are reasons for that.
And I don't know that it's a verdict.
Correct.
But it's definitely
right. It's
very high on the list of things we're going to
by
be
week 2 or week 3 of fall camp, you better be seeing, whatever it is that they saw
I
on
want to
him.
see his ass in the rotation on a daily basis.
His wide ass.
Yes, giant ass. He's to celebrate a giant ass like that. It has to be actively participating in what we're doing here.
There's plenty of smaller dudes standing on the sideline.
I can see all the little asses over here. I want. Let's get that big ass out there and do some things.
Maybe even lining up next to him. Yeah, there might be a little one. Same position.
Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio. Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Your local news now.
Deputies are searching for an inmate who escaped the Taylor County Jail Saturday. TCSO is searching for Joseph Padgett, a white male from Perry in jail on property crime and drug charges. Jail records indicate he was booked into the jail in June 2021. It's unclear how Padgett escaped. Anyone with information on where Padgett is should not approach him, deputies warned. Call 850-584-2429 or 911. 19-year-old Jakari Wesley was arrested in connection to the fatal shooting in the 1500 block of Lake Avenue that happened Friday morning. The shooting was determined to be the result result of an argument about drug sales. As a result of the argument, Wesley fired multiple shots into the victim's vehicle and fled the scene. The victim, a woman, was pronounced dead on the scene. Officers observed a vehicle fleeing at a high rate of speed. Following the gunfire, and initiated a high-risk traffic stop where Wesley was arrested and interviewed. During the interview, detectives developed probable cause to charge the suspect with first-degree murder. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon with a slight chance for scattered storms. Highs level off around 88. South winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight. Slight chance for isolated thunderstorms. Lows level off around 67. Slight chance for scattered thunderstorms again tomorrow. Highs around 90. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 87.
Hey Tallahassee, it's Sarah with Seminole Auto Glass. You're probably driving right now, which means you're surrounded by glass. Did you know that each piece is made differently? Your windshield is 2 sheets of glass with a thin plastic in between. This allows it to take an impact without going all the way through. Side and back glasses are typically tempered. This strengthening process is what allows them to be shattered in the event of emergency. Regardless of the glass or how it breaks, we can help. Trust your local auto glass experts. Seminole Auto Glass, proudly serving the Big Bend for over 15 years. Better call Seminole.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Here's what you missed on the Greg Tish Show.
We need to have history. We need to have literature. It deserves an explanation. We don't need to be promoting lifestyles that come into play for your average elementary school.
Well, I had an experience with this. When my daughter was in school, her teacher gave her a book to read, but then she asked me what the C word is.
That was in the book.
That was in the book.
Okay, so talking about the C word. So you're talking about conservatives, right?
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3.
Seminole Headlines is brought to you by Register Sausage, serving the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. To find a store near you or to buy directly from Registers, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com.
Oh, okay.
I was actually going to jump in and say, don't forget the promo code.
There you go. Please do.
Lonnie Alameda, FSU softball coach. Ben came through. Ben, the sausage guy, came through with the promo code. We mentioned it at the top of the show. Want to mention it one more time. It's good through Sunday, 30% off of your order at registermeats.com. Or if you want to get it in person, the empire is growing throughout the Southeast, and you can go to your local grocery store and ask for Register Sausage.
Who gets the unenviable task to write up the receiving group and grading them?
We'll see. That was good. I think it was going to be Corey, but the way he's under the weather, so I think I may jump in there. And yeah, that's going to be a tougher grade. That's probably not going to be quite as promising. It's weird though. That position, again, we do like Micah Pittman. I do like Pokey. I like Pokey Wilson
as a 3.
Is a as a complimentary piece. You don't necessarily want him. I mean, look, in the last year or two, it's been him and Keyshawn Helton
not good
leading the show. So it's improved. But yeah, man, that receiver group was an F last year.
Oh, it's easily an F last year.
Yeah, even in the ACC.
And I think it's a D now. I'm sorry. I mean, it's not a good group.
I mean, you may be right in this one.
I just like the way that Ira said it. He's a complimentary piece, like, begrudgingly so.
I can make it work, buddy.
Man, that's a tough.
I'll make sure to quote that when I do the video. I've got to do the voiceover video.
Yeah.
Take the audio as a complimentary piece.
Somebody calling you a complimentary piece is not necessarily a compliment.
Not usually, but it doesn't mean you can't play. It just means you're in your proper role now instead of being elevated to a place that you need not be.
As CY, Charlton Young, former FSU assistant coach, used to say, not everybody can be Michael. You need some Tito's. You need some Jermaine. Everybody can't be Michael. And that's the case here. I think we need Micah to be Michael, and you probably need a couple more of the 5 to show up as well.
We did a video yesterday. It'll be coming out when?
I think tomorrow or Thursday.
Okay. Yeah. So I want you guys, heads up, be on the lookout for that. Myself and Gene and Corey and Ira. on where we are, transfer portal, NIL, state of college football, the fears specific to FSU in this new landscape, all of that. And I spent a lot of time, even after we got done with the video, thinking through the subject matter. And I think we all are on a fairly regular basis, right? I mean, you're kind of just driving down the road thinking about where's college football going? Because people are wringing the hands, I think sometimes maybe too much. Other times I think you're right to have real concerns, especially as it is specific to Florida State. You mentioned CY a moment ago. Let me take a right turn here quickly. I have said, and maybe it's just doom and gloom me again, that there's an ominous sort of cloud hanging over the basketball program for me right now in this new landscape. If you couple what's happened with the staff and what they've lost the last few years on that staff, and Leonard's age, which, look, call it ageism, whatever you want, it's coaching's pretty much a young man's game. He's going to be 74, and he looks 40, and that's great, but he's 74. And then NIL, where there are basketball programs, in particular in the ACC, that care greatly about whether or not their teams win, as opposed to, say, Florida State, which is make it work if you can, guys. It's the way that we approach basketball. I just see a dark horizon here, man. I don't think Florida State's basketball program, which has been eminently relevant year in and year out at the start of every season for the last handful plus seasons, and even fairly upper echelon elite in the ACC the last 5-6 years until last year. I don't really see that happening moving forward right now, and I'm very, very concerned about it.
Well, they have invested more in basketball the last 7-8 years than they did previously.
Correct.
You know, we've seen it. They bought the Civic Center. They refurbished it. It looks like a basketball arena now. They've invested more in salaries, commitment to Leonard Hamilton and his staff. I mean, they have put some things in place. The challenge now, and I think it's the point you bring up with Florida State basketball, is I think really encapsulates what's happening nationally, is because people will say that players, there have always been players that got paid, you know, and we've seen it. Florida State has tried to recruit some guys that looked like they were coming to Florida State.
Got a little bit more to go elsewhere.
And then a last minute, maybe not, you know, Adidas comes in or whatever, and they end up going to Kansas or wherever else. So we've seen that play out. But the difference between players and bagmen in college sports before this era is it wasn't everybody. It wasn't everybody. And I could go back through the years. I used to, you know, and again, I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. Players should have been getting paid the whole time. But I just think back to the hoopty that Ernie Sims drove around. Or when I was covering UF, Kevin Carter drove like a little Datsun or something. I mean, not every player.
Hank Black didn't show up to help out.
He showed up some other guys, but that's kind of how it was. The cheating went on when players made it clear that they wanted something.
Right.
And then
they had a handout.
Then their families or handlers or somebody, then that message would get back to people who wanted to help out the program.
Yeah.
And that's but it wasn't everybody. What's going to happen now is it is going to be everybody because it's legal. So, and pay for play is not legal, but basically everybody
it's pay for play.
It's basically pay for play. So the reason I think FSU basketball is a perfect example is the resources probably aren't going to be there the way it is at other programs, where maybe even if you wanted to cheat, maybe they could go help you get 1 or 2 players.
Right.
But they're not going to be able to get you 10 or 12 compared to the way some of these other schools are. And I think that's the economy of scale, I think, is going to be the problem in this era.
And I'm going to point something out here. In the era where we're already gravely concerned about the disproportionate funds that the SEC has because of their television contract, and that the Big Ten has, and will have even more of when this next deal is announced, okay? We're already seeing the direct result of the excess cash. We're seeing it in facilities, and we're seeing it in success on and off the court and field, and it's only going to grow. And if you don't believe me, I love the NFL draft. Go back and look at who was drafted. The SEC, which is always number 1 in draft picks, nobody argues that that's the deepest league.
Not like this, though.
They had 65 players. So I'm going to give you the totals, all right? 65 players drafted out of the SEC. The next best was the Big Ten. Go figure, the 2 cash cows, 48. The next closest team conference was the Pac-12 with 25. 25 is just over half of what the Big Ten had.
And that's 60% of what the SEC had.
Right. So After that, it's the Big 12 with 25.
Well, wait till it happens in the basketball draft with the SEC.
No, and
that's what's coming.
And
that is my point.
This past season, and I know the SEC didn't do well in the NCAA tournament. That's fine. But what you got a glimpse of by some of the coaches that they've hired and some of the players they've acquired is the ACC's always been able to cling to, well, we got college basketball. Not that it's going to matter financially, but we've got college basketball. Well, with the excess money they've got, with their spare change they've got laying around, they just can decide, you know what? No, we'll take college basketball too.
We'll get very serious about our facilities in baseball. We'll get very serious about our facilities in basketball. We'll get very serious about the quality of coaches we lure away from supposed storied basketball programs. We'll bring them here because we can. The disproportionate numbers we're already witnessing, which continue to grow year in and year out, are going to get worse. But when I saw those numbers specific to the SEC and the Big Ten, 65, 48, and it falls off a cliff for the remaining Power 5 conferences. This is what's on the horizon. And Florida State basketball in particular, we may, as you point out, be able to cobble something together for football because we're invested in football in that way. And Rising Spear and other entities have stepped up to say, no, we're not going to sit idly by. Great, good. Man, I think everybody else is kind of screwed. I think you're starting to see that the potential for this to go the wrong direction long term for Florida State and other schools in the ACC for that matter. I talked to my Clemson people. They're scared and they've got money with the IPTAY fund and all that. But man, that the conference disparities in money, it's going to make all of the difference.
Yeah, it's common sense. It's, you're bringing in so much money on the university level, you don't necessarily need the boosters to help you. So where is it going to funnel to? And that's what we're seeing now. I think Florida State may be in deep trouble when it comes to, say, a Capital One Cup, right? Contending to be a top 10 athletic program or top 15 athletic program in the country. But you could still probably pick and choose 3 or 4 programs. The question is, to me, let's just say, and I've seen some reports out there, but let's just say that Rising Spear was able to collect in a given year, pure example, $10 million, something like that. What percentage of that is going to basketball?
Very low.
I mean, honestly.
And you may get a guy.
10%? I mean, that seems like a lot.
Yeah, that's probably high.
5%? And what can you do with that 5%? That's the tough part.
Yeah, and I think, and ultimately, and that's, look, man, we talk about Florida State football because that's what pays the bills for everybody. And that's the main priority for most fans. But ultimately, this is really going to crush the other sports because now with limited resources and then this battlefield that's been created by NIL in an open market with no restraints, everybody's going to marshal all the resources towards football. And those other sports are just going to have to get by. I mean, the concern that a lot of those other sports will become kind of club sports is very concerned unless something changes, and it doesn't seem like anything's on the horizon.
I did enjoy, we had the interview last week. It was posted on Warchant TV, and you can find it on YouTube right now. Speaking with David Hale, when he talked about every single day, quite literally every single day that goes by is another day closer to the ACC, seeing that contract value, getting to a place where maybe it's worth the risk to break the deal and to say, you know what, screw this. I'm not going to sit idly by till 2035 or whatever it is and just wear this ass kicking. At some point, we're going to ask those that would have us to come on down and let's see if we can, figure out a way to pay off what the remains.
But I think the irony is it might be some of the basketball schools saying we can't be successful as basketball schools. Like if I'm North Carolina, the Big Ten would be really hot for North Carolina,
huge.
Given the academic profile, and you could insert your joke here about the fraud and all that stuff. But, I mean, you could see a school like North Carolina say, well, we can't compete in basketball anymore. We need to go to the SEC. I mean, how backwards is that? Or Big Ten. How the irony of all of that was ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I remember going back to when FSU signed the grant of rights, and everybody wants to complain about the grant of rights.
Best guy every day.
Like everybody. And I get it. And they should have negotiated better. But at the end of the day, the reason Florida State and Clemson,
they had to show a unified front so that they can have a network.
Because North Carolina and Virginia were probably going to go to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And now what have you got? It's Florida State, Clemson, and Wake, and
Miami,
Virginia Tech. I mean, so that once the ACC became destabilized, everybody kind of wanted to sign that deal just to have a place to land.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what happened. But yeah, man, that's so David's point. I agree with him. That's true. But really, man, everybody wants to see a shakeup. Everybody that cares about Florida State should want to see a complete shakeup of the entire thing. Go to 2 mega conferences or 4 mega conferences, what it is, blow it all up. I think ESPN would have incentive to do it just because.
Yeah, they don't want the sport to decrease.
They have invested in the ACC for better or worse. They are paying these schools. They don't want to see it fade to oblivion. So there's going to be incentive for a lot of people to maybe restructure. That to me is is the best hope.
That's the hope for everybody who's not in either the Big Ten or the
Right.
SEC. The bottom line is you're going to have people fighting for streaming rights. You're already seeing it. Amazon, I mean, Facebook can do it. Twitter can do it. All these places want live sports because live sports is the only thing that pays the bills anymore. Everybody else DVRs, well, they don't even DVR anymore. Everything's on demand, whatever you want. So the point is they're all going to want a piece of that. And they're not going to, listen, there's only so many people that can have the SEC or the Big Ten. So the viability of the other conferences come up if you do find a way out of these existing contracts.
Yeah, it's the question is who's going to be the first to strike, and I think Ira's right. I think it's the TV execs.
They have to be driving this.
It's in their vested interests, quite literally, in such a way that a lot of these contracts are signing with Group of Five conferences or the ACC, which might be rendered a Group of Five in terms of viewership in the not too distant future. Why am I paying you this much for this product? That's the question they're going to ask, and maybe they could be the ones to start that conversation.
But in the point Gene has always made, which is accurate, is a lot of times TV execs, like executives in a lot of businesses, are thinking short term because that's what they got to worry about, their bottom line, the shareholders today and next year. So maybe they're not worried about 10 years down the road, but somebody needs to be paying attention to that because it could put a lot of this sport in jeopardy.
Well, it's fairly obvious that nobody was looking to the future. Nobody. The NCAA didn't heed warning after warning after warning that this was the path we were headed down. I mean, you go all the way back to the Ed O'Bannon situation. I mean, people were trying to say, look, man, if the courts are going to rule against you, the writing is on the wall that this model will not sustain, and you're going to have to figure out a way to get out in front of this, or this is what we're going to have. And this is exactly what we have. I mean, at this point, I don't know. I took it all the way up.
Yeah, 2 more minutes.
There you go.
What else you want to talk about?
Well, the one thing I would want to say on that, and we touched about it in the video that we're going to put out. I don't know that it's we've all made this disclaimer 1,000 times. Nobody's against players getting paid. We all want that. They should have been getting paid for years and years and years, going back to when college football became
once the
big.
Television became so
exactly.
Yeah.
And so we're all behind that. The question is how it's going to be structured and how it can work. I think the fans will accept even free agency to a degree, because at some point, again, it happened in pro sports. I remember when it happened in the NFL, people would say, I'm not going to watch it anymore. I don't know the players on the team. Well, there's still a lot of people that watch it. Yeah. The NFL makes a fortune, and there's players leaving teams every other year. So that, to me, I think fans and media will begin to accept that. The problem is, and the big concern right now is, it feels like the smaller schools or schools that aren't flush with cash won't be able to even compete. And at that point, how much fun is it?
Well, you've already started going down that path. I mean, I think that's already the overriding concern, right? Like, why at the start of every year? I brought this up 7 years ago, and I was asking a question to a national audience because I really wanted to get a feel. I was like, how many people out of the South are watching college football as intently as they once did? And because we all see where this is headed. And this was like 7 years ago I was talking about this. The thought being that pretty much at the start of every year, Alabama, okay, so if we're going to move out of the South, you would say Ohio State. That's it out of the Big Ten. And then maybe you would throw in an Oklahoma at that time. Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's it.
Nobody on the West Coast.
Nobody has
in the
a chance. That's it. Hour 2, forthcoming headliner questions. Stay with. Refreshing and simple. 2 words you don't hear many people use to describe their experience going through the process of getting a home loan. That's what puts the Hamilton Home Loans experience in a category all their own. If you're buying or refinancing a home, Hamilton Home Loans will provide a personalized mortgage experience that is dedicated to making the process refreshingly simple. It all begins with an initial consultation with an experienced Hamilton Home Loans advisor to find out what your goals are in order to find the right mortgage to suit your specific needs. Then, your personal home loan advisor will take you through all the steps from application, underwriting, approval, and closing, all the way to the front steps of your new home. Once you've experienced the Hamilton Home Loan process, you can be a customer for life and never have to pay lender fees again. For first responders, nurses, physician assistants, teachers, active and retired military, ask about the Hamilton for Heroes program. Personalized attention with your needs put first. Now that's refreshingly simple. Find out more at HamiltonHomeLoans.com. That's HamiltonHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 200719.
All right, about that time to upgrade my iPad and my Apple Gear. How much memory do I need? What upgrade should I get? What size screen? How many chargers do I need? USB-C, USB-D, mini USB, USB-B, ABC, 1, 2, 3.
If only there was a local business that can guide you and help you understand what you need and get you the best pricing possible. Oh, wait, that's what they do over at Macklemore Systems on Capitol Circle. Get help buying the right gear for the right price and have it shipped directly to their store for pickup, all at no extra cost. That's the kind of service you won't get at any big box store. Shop local at Macklemore Systems. Find out more online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
Many orthodontists in Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. The experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of the latest techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have a more complicated case requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last a lifetime.
Here we go. It's time for a chance to grow your green and win $1,000 cash plus a shot at a $10,000 grand prize. Here's your new keyword.
Fly, F-L-Y. Fly, F-L-Y, fly.
Enter that word now at realtalk93.com, and you might be the next winner.
Sweet girl, thank you. Oh my God. I just won $1,000. Hey, this is Monica. Hey, this is Elizabeth, and I just won $1,000. All right.
More of the Jeff Cameron Show is coming up next after this town hall news break on WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Sound of pro-life demonstrators chanting that pro-choice, that's a lie, outside the U.S. Supreme Court building. Hugh Brown, with the American Life League, a pro-life group, says they support the leaked draft opinion from the Supreme Court. However, it's not a solution.
If Roe versus Wade is overturned today, the fight then goes to the individual states. So abortion does not end, and it more than likely becomes a much more complicated matter because you're dealing with 50 different states.
Meanwhile, Chief Justice John Roberts has confirmed the authenticity of a leaked draft opinion. He ordered an investigation into what he called a, quote, egregious breach of trust. Also at townhall.com, the European Union's top diplomat, Joseph Borrell, says the bloc's executive branch is on the cusp of proposing a new raft of sanctions against Russia. It would be the sixth package of sanctions, which aims to de-SWIFT more banks. Help wanted signs turning up just about everywhere during the month of March.
American employers posted a record 11.5 million job openings in March, according to the government. That means the U.S. now boasts an unprecedented 2 openings for every unemployed person. A record 4.5 million Americans quit their jobs in March, a sign that they're confident they can find better pay or improved working conditions elsewhere.
Correspondent Rich Thomason with that report. On Wall Street, stocks have been up and down and have now moved higher. The Dow up 93 points, the Nasdaq 61 points higher, and the S&P 26 points in positive territory. More at townhall.com.
I'm about to compare a pepper shaker to a cash-out refinance. Hang with me. You know when you're at a restaurant and they ask, would you like some fresh ground pepper? And then they crank that giant tube, but almost nothing comes out? For me, only a certain amount of time is socially acceptable to wait. I know that getting that pepper out might make my life better, but it just seems too impossible. And that's what we hear people say about the cash-out refinance. People realize that the value of their home has gone up like hot pepper the last few years, leaving all this extra money sitting inside their home. But is it too hard to get out? It's Ryan from United Faith Mortgage. If you're interested in cashing out the extra pepper in your home, we're good at doing all the work while you just sit back and relax. And often, your mortgage payment and years in the loan will stay the same. If you'd like to hear about your options,
we are United Faith Mortgage.
United Faith Mortgage is a DBA of United Mortgage Corp. 25 Melville Park Road, Melville, New York. Licensed mortgage banker. For all licensing information, go to NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Corporate NMLS number 1330. Equal housing lender. Licensed in Alaska, Hawaii, Georgia, North Dakota, South Dakota, or Utah.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true. But I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
It's time for Seminole Headlines, featuring Warchant.com's Jeff Cameron, managing editor Ira Schofel, and senior writer Corey Clark. Your weekly dose of all things FSU, pistols, and pies starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
Hour number 2, headliner questions forthcoming. We'll get there in a moment. It is Seminole Headlines, kind of, a little bit different. We are hoping Corey Clark feels better. He fell ill today, stomach ache, and not here. Tom Lang filling in. Appreciate that. So a little Jeff Cameron Show / Seminole Headlines edition. Ira and myself always here, of course. But Corey is out today. Hey, thanks to Birch Orthodontics. Real quick before I forget, I can never forget. They're omnipresent in my life as one goes from braces and the other goes into them. So there we go. It's happening.
Yeah, Dr. Birch never takes a week off.
Never takes a week off. No,
unlike Corey Clark. And if you or your kids or anybody you know needs any orthodontic work, they also, I mean, any problems you have, I think Dr. Birch will just kind of answer your life problems. She'll give you football.
I got a
expertise.
Light. It's one of these motion sensors on the side of my house. It does not work the way it was advertised to work. Do you think I could bring that up to her the next time I go?
She'd fix it for you.
Did you buy it from the ACC network?
Nicely done. No, it's not a paranoid motion detector purchase, which is what they sell on the ACC network.
But the website is birchorthodontics.com, and they will do free consultations, payment plans, great customer service, great orthodontic work. We cannot recommend them highly enough. That's why my kids went there. Your kids went there.
Yeah.
And if Corey ever has a kid in Tallahassee, he's got one in Atlanta. He's not making the trip to go to Birch.
Well, he may have one in Tallahassee. We don't know about. I don't know. I don't want to expose the man, but I'm just saying. No, he definitely has one in Atlanta that we're aware of.
Exactly.
Sean writes, we'll kick it off with a Facebook question, Ira.
It's all right.
I'll come back to Twitter in just a second.
Is it my job to push for Facebook questions if I'm really filling in for Corey?
No, you should just stay silent as I push for Twitter.
As he pushes for Twitter. The baseball team's RPI is 11. Discuss.
That is something. Corey mentioned in his column, I think on Monday, that their RPI was up to 9 or 10, somewhere in that ballpark. And could they be a top 8 national seed? That seems ludicrous, but I don't know. I mean, RPI is a big factor.
It is a huge factor.
But man, it's hard to believe that this baseball team, after this season, could be a top 8 national seed.
I just learned a long time ago whether they're in the midst of an incredible run of success or the depths of failure. 7 out of 8 losses, whatever it might be, really hideous performances, that you cannot just go all in on they're terrible or they're really good. Because the last 5 years have told us they can be both simultaneously. They can play that way in a given weekend or a given week. They can show the worst aspects of what they are. Collectively, they can come back the following week against elite competition and dominate. The pitching is there to do that. Right. Parker Messick is legit a beast. And if that kid pitches like he did the other night against TCU and like he has for much of this season, you're going to have a leg up in any series that you play. So, it's a matter of, and now it gets different when you get into the postseason. It gets different when you get out to Omaha for sure. But in a series, you're going to have an advantage over almost everybody.
But from a big picture standpoint, hosting a regional would be a nice step in the right direction. Making it to a super regional would be just a nice, it would be a kind of a stabilizing season for what's been a tough start to Mike Martin Jr.'s tenure because of COVID and just because of changing.
Well, he had to flip the roster.
Flipping a roster and all that goes along with that. So, focus on that. Can you host a regional, get into a super regional and see what happens at that point? And you like your chances, like you said, with that starting pitching to give them a chance. So that would be, whether or not they're a top 8 national seed, that seems lofty. just getting to host a regional and making it to supers would be a really good positive step.
If it was up to D1 baseball, they'd send Florida State to Alaska. D1 baseball does not believe in this team at all.
But I think that's kind of a overreaction to, like, I think last year, I think they may have had them too high from what I remember.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes you kind of overcorrect the other way, but you're right. Yeah, they have not had them.
College baseball is the weirdest of the sports in regards to rankings. Like, I only look at the RPI because that seems to be the most consistent evaluator. But when you get into Baseball America, D1 Baseball, or any of the other ranking outlets, it's like it's so disparate. Somebody could be 7 in one poll and 28th in another poll. It's bizarre.
I love the fact that people still list collegiate baseball because collegiate baseball was always part of it.
Yeah.
And it's like a magazine that I think like one guy puts out and might have 200 subscribers at this point. But he's still putting out his rankings.
He still got them. The guys, hey, man. God bless that gentleman. I remember the days, Club Publix, Pensacola Street, the old school one. For those of us at school, you go in there, it was a sight to behold.
It was.
Yes, it was. But that parking lot was also where the newspaper stands were off to the right side, over towards the Wendy's across the street on Ocala. If you know right where that was, you could get Baseball America there. You could get that. You could get a USA Today. You could get obviously a Tallahassee Democrat, and you could get, there were like 5 other newspapers you could get right there. I was one of those guys. I'd go over, I'd park my car, I'd pull out like $5 and change, just feeding quarters to all of those to bring in the publications. And Baseball America was one of them. I loved it.
It has changed. That market has changed dramatically. And, really college baseball as a whole, D1 baseball has been, I'm surprised, to be honest, the success they've had, because there was a point with college baseball where when I heard that was coming out, and they were going to have a subscription model, I was like, man, I don't know how much I'd invest in that.
Those are the rankings that the NCAA uses too when they put it out on Twitter. It's like according to D1 baseball. So they got in bed with the NCAA.
Got some juice,
yeah.
And Florida State is not getting a lot of respect.
Okay, so T-Money writes, Twitter question. Serious question. Who's going to set the guardrails and rules for NIL and transfers? It seems to be ruining college football. Is it a special committee? And when are they planning to roll something out? Longtime supporter of FSU athletics and alumni, but quickly being turned off by all this nonsense. So what I'll say about T-Money's question is there is a sense, I think, for a lot of people that it is just out of control and there doesn't seem to be an end to any of this, and it's resembling professional sports more and more. And regardless of where you stand on how long ago players should have started getting paid more, and or whether you think they should never be paid, or wherever you are on the extremes, the bottom line is it is resembling professional sports more and more. And a college fan, a fan specifically of college sports, saw a real line of delineation between pro sports and college sports for the longest time. Well, they may have had their head in the sand in a lot of aspects, but they certainly saw a line of delineation. And now I begin to think that they don't see that as much. And I think in the case of college football, it's going to hurt the sport.
Well, and then you get into the area of if they were to become employees, because what people want is the guardrails they're talking about. A lot of times you're talking about salary caps, collective bargaining, those. And if you talk about being employees, now you talk about an 18-year-old young person or 17 or 18-year-old person signing with a college, maybe getting an injury during their freshman year and getting fired. Because if you're an employee, you're not producing. A 4-year guaranteed contract. Yeah. And or if you're just not what we thought you were going to be, you just get fired. And we could say what we talk about processing players in college sports right now. That's not, they're not pushing anybody out who doesn't agree to leave. In general, when guys are leaving, it's either because they got into trouble or they want to play and they're not going to play at this school. The coaches at the Division I level of football anymore are not going to players and saying, you have to leave. We're cutting you. That doesn't really happen. But when you become employees, that definitely does happen. So there's another side to that.
Well, and every day there's another line that is stepped across. So I brought it up yesterday in that video, the aforementioned video we did on this very subject. I think what rubbed people the wrong way with the situation at Pitt and Addison is that the running back at Georgia Tech, Jahmyr Gibbs, put his name in the portal. He said, I want out. I want to leave. And I'm putting my name in the portal. I'm at Georgia Tech. This isn't working out. I'd like to go. He knew he'd have suitors. Just so happens that Alabama jumped on it. So he goes from Georgia Tech to Alabama. People are all right with that, I think. I think we're already getting used to that idea. You're like, okay, well, a kid can do that. It's a one-time transfer thing. I get it. All right. But Jordan Addison hadn't put his name in the portal. And they were actively, through the press, negotiating the price. Like Southern Cal put it out there, and so did other schools. Kentucky, I mean, it's pretty specific that a dollar amount came out from Kentucky at $800,000. I mean,
well, and
that's problematic.
On a much smaller level, the Louisville wide receiver who went through spring practice, they've got a quarterback coming back. It's not Pitt's situation is a little bit different also because
Pickett left to go to the NFL.
Yeah, they've got questions about that offense.
But still, put your name in the port.
No, I got you. I know. I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but the Louisville case to me is even more dramatic. It's not as high profile, but because they have a quarterback coming back, they've got an offense. Almost their offense is coming back. They've got an offense where he's had success. He went through spring practice, then jumps in the portal and commits to Alabama. I mean, he just knew that Alabama wanted. You know, what I mean,
right? No, they were contacted.
Yeah, that's that part of it. I guess you're right. Is the most concerning part. But I don't know. It is interesting to see like what are the reasons everybody's mad? Is it just because a guy might get $3 million in college, or is it because you're getting the haves and have-nots more spread than they've ever been?
If they're mad about the $3 million in college, that's where I just say you've had your head in the sand, because we've lived in a system where everybody gets paid ridiculous amounts of money except for the players. Right. So that's like with Nick Saban years ago. I remember Levitard saying with his salary, he could
take $1 million out and pay every player.
Well, he could pay everybody $50,000, everybody on scholarship, and still make $4 million for the season. Like, that's just absurd. So we're getting to a better place in that regard. But my question would be, if you're mad about how crazy it's getting and, there's no due process here, there's no process that universities are following, is what would the deterrent be? Like, what is going to be the deterrent to USC that they can't do what they're doing, or the next school?
There isn't one, and that's why people are concerned.
Yes, you need an organization to say, well, we're going to take schollies or roster spots. Just call them roster spots. Don't even call them scholarships anymore. You can't sign 85 players. You can only sign 75. Whatever it is, but that needs to be the penalty, because short of that, if it's a money issue, they'll pay the fine. They don't care.
Well, right. I think the concern is that, again, there is no regulatory body. There isn't anybody that has set up a set of rules that every university is adhering to. We don't have that. It's one school decides we're going to go all in on anything we want and make it happen. Another's like, well, allegedly these can't be inducements. Well, I mean, who the hell are we kidding?
Well, and then the fear is, and I think the underlying fear that is probably magnified in a program like Florida State,
right,
where there are some limited resources compared to some of these other programs. The fear is that even if you get those players, even if you get to a point, maybe these guys have evaluated so well and they've recruited so well, and they've got like Julian Armella and Azaria Thomas and Sam McCall and some of these really talented young players,
they're going to get plucked.
You're not going to be able to keep them. And that would be such a kick in that it's just hard to even get excited, because you at least could look forward to, oh man, that kid's going to be awesome in a year or 2 years.
Yeah, we can see the development curve.
Just in time for somebody else to come take him away.
It's like the Pittsburgh Pirates. You root for a player, you recognize he's coming up, he's going to be great, and soon he'll be a Yankee.
But you're still a fan, though, right?
I'm a sucker, though. I'm a sucker.
But don't we think that college football fans will adapt and accept
I think in a lot of aspects they will, but some of these will probably be a bridge too far. If they do not have a czar of college football or somebody regulate, but first of all, I think that's going to be a moot point, because I think the breakaway is going to happen, and it is going to be a separate set of rules. And if it's not your cup of tea, because pro football already exists and it's done better, then you could watch, Marshall play Furman, and those will be two schools that aren't participating in that sham. And you'll go back to a scholarship being a scholarship, and those rules being in place that maybe the NCAA can govern and watch over.
I think the breakaway is coming too, but the problem in the interim, like Ira's talking about, is our fan base here thinks we're the Yankees, but we're going to have to be the Rays. Where it's you have to do a lot more with less in terms of resources, and or getting used to the idea that dudes are going to get plucked the moment that they're good. Now, I think they'll be able to retain some guys, but certainly not all of them.
In the old world, Florida State was the Yankees, but things have changed.
Yeah, well, and that's a world I don't want to live in. I don't like this world where we're...
Stay with us.
I don't like the world where we're the Pirates. This is not I've already existed in that world for my whole life. It's not a fun world. You lose 100 games every year. It sucks. You lose to Jacksonville State in this world. It's not a good world. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
This is Andy Cohen. When I was a law enforcement officer, I devoted my life to a career of service and protection. Who's protecting you? Give me a call. 850-671-FARM. That's 671-FARM. Helping you is what we do best.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
Another check from Northern Florida?
Yes, Your Majesty.
And may I ask why we get it?
It's from one of our businesses in the States, a pest control company.
Oh, and what do we know about pests in Northern Florida?
Absolutely nothing.
Did you know that most pest and termite companies that serve Tallahassee are actually owned and operated by people that don't even live in our area? One owner is actually in Great Britain.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control was founded in North Florida, operates in North Florida, and services North Florida.
All of Paul's decisions and treatments, plus prevention methods, are centered around the unique needs of our wonderful part of the world.
Being local really does matter in our industry.
Don't trust the health of your family to companies that aren't even on our continent.
Protect your biggest investment from termites and your family and pets from pests with a company with the local advantage, Paul's Termite and Pest Control.
And remember, Paul's keeps North Florida lawns green too. For the elimination of termites and other pests,
And a greener lawn too.
call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
Will you use a fly swatter?
I believe we do.
Physical stress on our bodies can take its toll as the years go by. Whether you're looking to get back into an old sport or just want to spend more time outdoors to explore all life has to offer in our beautiful city, the dedicated team at TOC is here for you every step of the way. You can trust TOC for all your orthopedic needs. And now, scheduling an appointment has never been easier. Just visit teamtoc.com and click schedule online. That's teamtoc.com.
Sellers Tile does it better for business owners, contractors, designers, and homeowners. Better design ideas, better quality tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring, better mosaics, ceramic, and vinyl solutions. And Sellers makes it easier with their amazing showroom and first-class professionals. Maybe it's time to get Sellers working for you on Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive, or online at sellerstile.com for better style, quality, and design. Go with Sellers in Tallahassee. Call 656-8453.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
All right, let's knock it out. Let's get to a bunch of questions here, back to back to back. How do you boys cook bacon, writes Nate. Are you, and this is for the family, are you putting a few slices on at a time in the same frying pan? Are you getting the sheet pan out, covering with foil and sliding it into the oven? Lots of pros and cons to both. Please discuss. Well, Ira's nodding his head, so I want to hear his rationale here. Ira, what you do? You're doing the sheet pan?
Love some bacon, but yeah, we do the sheet. It's funny. My whole life growing up, we always did the frying pan.
Mm-hmm.
But Kim introduced me to the sheet in the oven.
Yeah. Why is that better?
I don't know if it's better. Just it's easier and it's easier to keep clean.
Yeah.
You know, frying on the grill or on the stovetop gets a little messy.
It does.
But dude, I will in a pinch. I'll throw them in the microwave.
Oh,
which is the
Ira,
worst.
don't admit to that. Oh, we're all recoiling in here.
I will, on occasion, throw them in the microwave.
Sheer desperation.
Dude, I'll throw a hot dog in the microwave if I have to.
No,
man.
Can we stop confessing?
Oh,
we're
man.
rolling. This is live.
Back at summer camp having a hot dog in a microwave.
No, what have we done?
in a pinch, if I got to get out the door,
that has to be a real pinch. I'd rather be hungry.
Am I the only one who still has a Foreman? George Foreman?
I mean, you might be.
I'll throw the bacon on the Foreman. It's a lot cleaner. It's a clean process.
Comes on down,
But if it becomes something that you want to really put it together, have some good bacon, you put it on the pan, and you wear the grease burns. You wear the pops.
Absolutely, you do. Right on the
right.
forearm. They're popping up.
And you just flip them, and you're like, all right, let's go.
What was it about the Foreman? The marketing there was unbelievable. I remember we were in college.
Everybody had a Foreman.
We didn't have money to pay our cable bill, but we went out and bought a Foreman grill.
I even got the second edition Mac Daddy Foreman grill back in the day, where you could get 4 to 5 burgers on there.
We were all conned.
It's still popping. Mine's still popping. It was supposed to be Hulk Hogan. It was supposed to be Hulk Hogan who got that, and he turned it down. He says it's the biggest mistake of his life.
Dumbass.
He turned it down.
Nobody ever accused him of being smart.
Brother.
Yeah, that wasn't real smart.
Good.
So anyhow, I would say, Tom, to your point, by the way, and we'll move on here, there is a pan I bought off of Instagram. You can see I was
21st century. Look at
I was targeted. And I fell prey to their target. I went, oh, yeah, that looks good. So, yeah, it's a giant pan that has the grooves like the Foreman grill.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's very easy. You just take the big spatula there. You're like, you're good to go. Just like that. You don't have to worry about it. It just funnels it all out. I like it. It's a good pan. Serious question. Oh, I already read that one. This question, born of the wildly popular JCS from Roger. Worst school paddling you ever received? We grew up in that era. Tom didn't. Tom did not grow up in an era where paddlings occurred in school, correct?
That's correct. No.
Teachers getting arrested when Tom was a kid.
That's right.
Like kids could hit teachers, but teachers couldn't hit kids.
For me, high school football coach for throwing a Frisbee in the gym when I was supposed to be lifting. Damn. I think you're older than us, Roger. That's back in the day where football coaches could beat children. That's crazy. Shout out to brother Charlie, who's recovering from a broken back suffered 17 days ago. Get better, Charlie.
Yeah, get better.
No, I admitted to the paddling that I got from the school principal at Bay Point Middle back in the day.
So we had in
the mean streets of Miami, you probably did. You could get shanked.
The worst thing was in elementary school, like in 5th and 6th grade, we played Kill the Man with the Ball, whatever you want to call it at the time. And we would play
Kill the Carrier.
Yeah. And we would play it out inside, like basically on the field next to PE.
Mm-hmm.
And we kept getting busted. Like the teachers and principals, they did not like us playing that game. So in response, we went and played right in the patch of grass outside the principal's office to let him know we were not going to be stopped.
We will not be bullied
from bloodying each other.
That's right.
Playing this game.
This aggression.
And, we all got paddled, like every one of us.
Like just a one whack, or was it a 3 whack?
I think it was one, but
I don't know what you're doing in school with a 3 whacker, sir. No, sir.
The one with the where they have the holes in the paddle.
The holes in the paddle. That's what I had. The holes in the paddle. You could hear the whoosh coming.
Never know you went to Catholic school.
Oh, but a bump. Hello, men of sausage with reverb and echo. I was listening to the Smash and heard Michael discuss that there really seems to be no deadline that's going to be enforceable for kids to enter the portal. Do you guys expect to see more current FSU players enter the portal?
I don't know that that's true. I mean, there is a waiver process, but I think the waivers are not going to be just thrown out. Well, who knows, man? Yeah. It's 2022.
Nothing exists.
We'll see. But there is a waiver process. But the other factor in it for guys who aren't in the portal as of this week that maybe could still go in is if a guy graduates, because that May 1st deadline is for one-time transfer policy exceptions. The old transfer, if you're a grad transfer, still exists. That never changed. And those players, if they graduate this summer, they could enter the portal this summer and go play somewhere this fall. That's still an option as well. And there is a waiver process. I don't think it's going to be wide open, but could change. Who knows?
Burke writes, we had 2 first-team all-ACC players last year. Will we have more than that this year? That's a good number, right. Man. That's a good over-under.
Yes.
Well, because Tatum Bethune, I think, has a chance to be. I think he's going to be fantastic.
You're thinking Lovett?
Lovett, maybe Cooper as well.
Jamie Robinson.
So you could repeat one of those 2. Jamie Robinson, Benson could be. That guy.
So we're gonna go over the number. If we were doing
because
Vegas,
you bring Jamie. If you didn't bring Jamie back, I would say because it's. And once you've been first team,
it's easier.
He's going to have 90 tackles again. He's going to be first team.
Amarian Cooper's got a shot.
Yeah,
he does. Yeah. And I think Tatum Bethune has a shot.
It's not first team All-American. It's just ACC.
First
possible.
Team. Will we have more than 2?
I'd go over. I wouldn't go under.
No, I think to lose the bet, you'd have to have only 1. And I think you're right. Yeah, I would go over here. Probably get my money back because it'll be 2. That's fine. Heath writes, for Ira, Dad is from New York, grew up in Florida. why the hell would you torture yourself with being an Orioles fan? And just in case Jeff forgot, mine and Corey's Braves are the champions of the world. Indeed, Heath.
Well, I did want to give – I'm a little disappointed Corey's not here because I wanted to talk to him about the Hawks and the Heat. My beloved Heat.
Your beloved Heat.
You see me with my Heat jersey all the time.
Yeah, repping, popping.
My throwback cycling jersey.
Guts and Corey.
But no, man, I mean, look, man, when I was a kid, I was born in Baltimore. So when I moved to South Florida as a kid, being an Orioles fan in the 70s, everybody wanted to be an Orioles fan.
Unless, of course, you were a Pirates fan who were steady beating the Orioles in the World Series. Just saying.
So it was a good thing to be an Orioles fan back in those days. And the Marlins didn't exist. I'm not a fan. Well, before my Heat, which I've adopted the last couple of years, I've never been a fan of any Miami team. So Orioles is where it's at. It's someday Peter Angelos is going to sell the team and brighter days ahead.
I don't know why, and this is odd because it's legitimately true. It's not for show purposes at all. I have wanted you to come around and cross over and say, I am a Miami Dolphins fan. I wish you would do it almost in just honor of your childhood. Like to cross back over and say, I'm going to root for the Dolphins because the Colts abandoned you. They went to Indianapolis. You can't root for anything in Indianapolis. Just be the Dolphins fan that you want to be.
But it would be like turning on 10-year-old Ira. Like I've rooted against the Dolphins my entire existence.
Yeah, but you're a wildly more mature, experienced, confident man that can boldly go into that fandom.
Can't betray young Ira.
Why not the Ravens?
You know, here's the thing. So a lot of my family,
the Silver Raven.
So here's what happened. My family. So I like the Silver Raven.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
My family up there, who still lives in Baltimore, they would not go with the Colts when they went to Indianapolis.
Yeah,
but I lived in South Florida. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to ride with the Colts. So I stuck with the Colts when they went to Indianapolis. And then at that point, when the Ravens came back, I was like, what do I do? Stuck with the Colts, then finally gave up on them at some point because it was just, I'm rooting for a team in Indianapolis.
Deep down, you're rooting for the Dolphins. It's all right, man. You should do it. Fellas, it was a banner weekend for the chastity belts, defenders of the meat. Listening to Corey poo-poo the excitement and accomplishment that is a run to Omaha last week and besmirch Meat and the boys after he witnessed the Braves win it all just 6 months ago after an 88-win regular season had me stupefied. But then I remembered he was too cowardly to watch a Braves postseason game, and it all made more sense. Number 11 in the RPI for that ass, boys. That's not a question. It's just an observation, but it's a good observation. That was from Stevens, who's like
over under 10.5 minutes for Steven to compose that whole thing. I'm going to go with over.
Pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
Matt wants to know percent chance we win a regional. I go 70%. Seems like pitching is starting to round into form.
Yeah, I think if they host a regional, I think they're
going to win a
75
regional.
to
I like them to
75.
My cop-out answer every year. They got a better chance to win a super than a regional.
So then
60 for a regional and 70 for a super. How about that?
But who do you start in the first game? So if you're hosting and you're a 1 seed, who are you starting in the first game?
Not Parker Messick.
No. So who do you feel great about in an opening game against a decent, you might have a decent 4 or a 4 that's got a decent starter.
We'll get to that.
Hubbard's been uneven enough. You might want to just throw him on Friday and be done with it.
There's a lot of baseball to be played out. We got a lot of baseball. Let's see what happens here. Robert wants to know, where does Parker Messick rank all time as the Seminoles pitcher? Man, there've been so many good pitchers.
Imagine if he was on a great team.
Yeah, a dominant team.
Like if he was on one of those teams,
those 90s
he'd
teams,
be up there.
Oh man,
with anybody.
He'd never lose.
Plus exactly. If he had a real offense.
Yeah,
and the way he carries it. Imagine if he was around like a bunch of studs.
Yeah,
like how would he carry himself at that point? No. I mean, he'd just be like.
I wonder if he asked that in the clubhouse.
If you guys weren't a bunch of slappies, how much better would I be? Because look at how great I am anyhow, but you guys are kind of half-assed, except for you, Tibbs. You're a beast.
Yeah.
Tibbs, that kid is for real.
That's the way he carries himself on the field. Though. Like, oh, you don't belong on the same field as me. You're kind of right in a few instances there.
Yeah,
man.
no, he's awesome. Matthew writes, Jeff, please tell Ira we'll get to the Twitter questions in a moment. I was all Twitter for much of this second hour, just so you know. I kind of circled back. I felt bad for our Facebookers. In the meantime, what is the most likely first step in reforming college sports in the NIL era, and who takes that step? Is it a school or a conference? The NCAA as an institution? No. The answer is no to that last part. No. The TV networks? Yes. The answer is yes to TV networks. Or an entirely new entity? Who would that be? What? Elon Musk? Will there be a coalition to push reform within the NCAA, or will a whole new governing body that exists outside of the current framework be proposed. Feels like the first step will be the hardest if any meaningful change is to come.
Yeah, Elon Musk buying college football might be the answer.
There it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the ACC joining their alliance, which hasn't been a whole lot of anything so far, but being kind of partnered with the Big Ten and the Pac-12, having some sort of feeling there, then that you would. I think what you have to hope is that power structure works with the TV people to say, look, we have to do something. This is not sustainable. We have to come up with something that will benefit all of us. But then they have to explain to the SEC and also the Big Ten why it benefits them, because just doing it to save the sport and save these other 50
that
teams,
level of
I don't
altruism
know,
isn't going to
if
have.
that's going to work, but they've got to figure out a way to make it better for them. And that's
it's more profitable.
Yeah. And that's going to be
long term. It gives you a chance to remain wildly successful and rich. In the short term, you'll be making more money the way you're doing it. But 30 years from now, you will not, when the sport is irrelevant.
And hope you can make a compelling case.
Yeah. Who picks up the phone? Who makes everybody pick up the phone would be my question. It's the TV networks,
right?
A conference commissioner, somebody's like, I'm sending that to voicemail. But if a TV network executive, somebody who can swing in the room, if he calls you, you're picking up the phone. And that's got to be the person to start the conversation.
And to David Hale's point, that the grant of rights does seem forever away, especially when you're bleeding money compared to these other conferences. But it's not that far away.
And we're getting closer and closer to a time where somebody would eat it if they wanted you.
And you could get to that point where you can make it happen. So, yeah, man, I still think, I don't know, when Swarbrick made his comments last week or a couple weeks ago saying that maybe within a decade or 12 years or something, and I think it's 5. I mean, I think within 5 years.
Kind of has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I don't think that's just wishful thinking. I think something will be happening within these next 5 years.
The most important question that has to be answered for the SEC to say yes or the Big Ten to sign on on for the good of their own selves is how many teams are necessary for us to make even more money? So, what's the cutoff point? Is it 32? Is it 50? Is it 6?
I just like that we're first up. I like that we're one of the 5 to 7 teams that would be first up because it makes total sense that we would be anyhow. First of all, from the region, the cachet of the program, the money making, the merchandise, everything. Like Florida State would be along with Clemson and a few others, maybe one other in this conference, Miami, maybe.
If you were investing long term in stocks, if you were impartial to this right now, but if you had to invest long term, this can't be a quick turnaround. You're flipping the stock. Would you buy stock in some of these SEC schools that are getting the checks now, like Vandy? Or some of these Big Ten schools like Purdue or whatever, or would you invest in a Florida State who could be in that next? Because some of those schools are going to get cut.
Oh yeah,
they're left out. These next 10 years, you'd rather be them, but over the next 20 years, would you still rather be Florida State, or would you still rather be them?
Yeah, I'd rather be Florida State even over Clemson, because Florida State still rates with an under 500 record and a bad program in standing wise, and yet they play Notre Dame, and it's one of the highest rated games that ESPN puts on TV the whole year.
People, there is a respect for Florida State, whether sometimes we realize it or not.
Well, when you have the all-time winningest coach, you have 3 national championships, one relatively recent in 2013. You've got, obviously, the spear resonates with people. I'm a college football fan, so if I remove Florida State and I just think of symbols of the sport, I think of OU, I think of Texas, I think of Southern Cal, I think of Alabama, I think of Florida State.
You're Coke or Pepsi, or
they're that kind of a brand.
Yeah, think about the Sunday night game against LSU. That's a down LSU program who's in transition. Florida State's been irrelevant for 5 years. I'm just talking about from the national perspective. And I know it's the only game in town that night, but
it's going to put up a massive number.
Yes, huge numbers.
But you can't dismiss it as the only game in town. There's a reason it's the reason they're putting it in that time.
But put Vandy in that spot. I mean, it's going to do nothing.
All right, definitely. Do nothing. Nate writes, and we got to go to break after this. It's a short one. Jeff, would you rather have an all-expense paid trip to Hawaii or a guaranteed national championship for FSU baseball? Oh, that's easy. FSU baseball win in Omaha.
Yeah, you got Cameron kind of money. That's an easy question.
He goes to Hawaii every other month.
Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV. Continuing in a moment.
Your local news now.
The Tallahassee Police Department says it responded to a shooting at the Griffin Heights Apartments early Sunday morning. Officers were sent to 1010 Basin Street around 2:20 a.m. Sunday after TBD received multiple calls about shots being fired there. Police found a man suffering from a gunshot wound to his foot. The victim told police 2 suspects shot at him, and as he ran away, he was hit in the foot. No arrests have been made at this time, and this remains an open and active investigation. Capitol Police Director Mark Glass was named by Governor DeSantis as acting commissioner of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement as longtime Commissioner Rick Swearingen's exit became effective on Sunday. In a letter Friday from DeSantis to Attorney General Ashley Moody, Chief Financial Officer Jimmy Petronas, and Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried said Glass will be brought to the state cabinet for confirmation as acting commissioner if the permanent appointee isn't named by the next cabinet meeting. That meeting is scheduled for June 28th. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon with a slight chance for scattered storms. Highs level off around 88. South winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight. Slight chance for isolated thunderstorms. Lows level off around 67. Slight chance for scattered thunderstorms again tomorrow. Highs around 90. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 91.
Every great construction project, whether it's a new addition or renovation, starts with a plan. At T-Spark, we are excited when our clients contact us to assist with that plan. Through our team of architects, draftsmen, engineers, we can help you with your project's planning and design, potentially saving costs in the long run. Whether you have a residential or commercial project, we look forward to working with you. Call us today or visit us at tsparkconstruction.com. License number CGC 1525336.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
It's Congressman Michael Waltz on the Greg Tish Show.
Good morning, Congressman. How are you doing?
Hey, doing well.
Again, just what you have to go through day in and day out. I don't know how you have hair left, or like Matty Rowe, just completely bald. Hey, sorry.
And the irony of it all, the progressives are the tail wagging the dog. This whole bipartisan White House is a joke. We're just watching them eat their own.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3.
Seminole Headlines is brought to you by Register Sausage, serving the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. To find a store near you or to buy directly from Registers, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Ryan writes, hey guys, I wanted to wait until the off season to ask this, but last fall, PK Sam and Travis Johnson got into an online fight. I believe that marks 20 straight years of that team fighting publicly with one another. Were those Rick's era teams the most dysfunctional you ever covered? Any crazy memories you can share of those teams? Well, I covered them. You covered them. Yeah, they weren't fans of one another in a lot of ways. They were definitely segmented.
That's when we lost access to the locker room.
Yeah.
In the Coach Bowden, a lot of back in the day, a lot of locker rooms were open. Then it kind of less and less. There were very few still open in the early 2000s. But Florida State was one of them. And Coach Bowden just always had a policy. We would wait 10 minutes till they got either showered or changed. And then we could come in the locker room. Literally, the door would open up, and we would all just funnel in. And you go to the lockers of whatever players you want to talk to, and interview them.
There may have been a fight that erupted in front of the press.
After the Notre Dame game, we were walking in, and things are flying, and dudes are being held back, and a lot of defensive linemen were going after one Chris Ricks. So it was an interesting time. And then shortly after that, we were no longer invited to the post-game locker room.
It's the same season that they did the season,
right,
in which they took the excerpt from me ripping. Yeah, that was interesting.
It was
a lot of reasons to shut out the media at that point is what he decided.
It was a tough time, but Okay.
I was going to say, so two things. Number one, never let a third party do a season with or the season because it always ends badly. But number two, who opened the door? Somebody just was like, okay, come on in.
Well, it was
didn't. I don't think they realized that
it was about to go down.
Coach Bowden had just talked, and they were done with that, and then they're coming over to open the door, and I think there were some words being exchanged simultaneously, and then as soon as the door opens up, we see dudes flying. It was crazy. But there was, on that note, there was actually, I was going to bring this up. One of our Warchant subscribers, BC Noles 16, posted a question on the Tribal Council, and it was a very similar question. He said he was thinking about a story Jeff told a few years back about Greg Jones whipping Darnell Dockett in a fight. What are your favorite behind-the-scenes stories for FSU sports? That was not in the locker room. I think that was like at lunch.
Yeah, that's an ugly deal. Greg Jones was related to Ken Norton, the boxer that fought Ali. You don't want to fight Greg Jones for a lot of reasons.
Seeing Greg Jones
would
tell me that. Although Dockett was obviously a bad man too.
Yeah, well,
but yeah, man, when you take out a guy like Dockett, your credibility.
You got a little something to you.
there's
you got a little something to you if you're taking out Darnell. Yeah, that's.
There was another fight back in the day. I know there was one. Buster Davis hit somebody. They were doing thud, and Buster Davis went after somebody low. It might have been Greg Jones. That might have been Greg Jones too.
Well,
in fact,
once again,
and it did not go well. The next thing you know, Greg Jones is on top of him. Yeah, it was right after because Greg had come back from the ACL.
Yeah,
and he thought Buster hit him low.
Can't hit him low for a lot of reasons, and you definitely can't hit him in low who's recovering from an ACL, and he's a running back trying to get paid. That can't happen. Yeah, Greg was always a guy that you kind of just by a lot of times you can't read a book by the cover, but with Greg you could. You looked at Greg, you're like, he doesn't look like he can't fight. I'm gonna leave this alone.
In my generation, that was Nick Moody. Nick Moody was not to be trifled with, man.
Nobody wanted to trifle with him.
Here's the thing about Nick Moody. I'm 20 years older than Nick Moody. We interviewed him. Tim Linnefelt and I went over to one Nigel Bradham's camp in Wakulla one
Another
summer.
guy you don't want to fight.
No, correct. But it was his summer camp, and Nick Moody was there. He was out of the NFL. He came back and he was helping out at Nigel's camp. And when you talk to Nick Moody, you just feel like at any moment somebody could get hurt.
Yes.
Like
there's a feeling. It's ominous.
Okay, so my first foray on the beat was that particular 2010, and I remember somebody asked a question about, I think it was playing Madden or NCAA football because the video game still existed. And Terrence Parks offered up that he and Moody play all the time, and they have a great time with it. And then Nick was the next one to come out. It was in the Moore Center by all the trophies. And then that same person asked Nick, he's like, so I heard you guys play NCAA, like, you have some good games. And he goes, and it was like, oh.
Okay, well, all right. No small talk
that's
here.
It. There was one other question, and we were done. The breakout was over.
I think, Reggie Northrup is now transitioned to, he's still playing USL, but he's doing the MMA stuff.
Right.
And have you seen
cigarette in his mouth?
Have you seen any of the videos of him in MMA?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's Nick Moody to me. I would if he had gotten involved in MMA,
you would have been like, yeah, that makes sense.
Tracks.
Yeah,
I mean, the dude's asking the question. He's chummy, and he goes, and
and I'm gonna go speak to so and so. That's the end of this. Yeah, Steve writes, gentlemen, Gene Deckeroff will be speaking to the Capital Tiger Bay Club. If you could ask him a question, what would you ask? Would that question be different if it were just between you four? Well, Gene's been an open book and really receptive to conversation and questions and experiences since I got into the business. He's obviously been doing it a lot longer than I have. And we certainly praised him in the sense that when he announced his retirement, it's like, good for you, Gene. You did it the right way for a long time, and you're a legend. I think I've asked him everything I've ever wanted to ask him. I don't know that I have anything specific to this question.
I think that forum tends to lend itself to people saying things or taking shots. I mean, it's supposed to be a place where people are very candid. So maybe people will try to get him to say something that, like when he saw something like Jimbo or Bowden. Did you really not like Jimbo, or did you really? Is there something?
He's not going to give that,
and I wouldn't imagine
he's not going to give that up. Yeah. I don't know if there's ever been a person Gene didn't like.
Right.
I mean, he just likes everybody. He gives everybody the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody he didn't like, but he gives everybody the benefit of the doubt and then some. So I don't know. I don't know what it would be. I would probably ask, to be honest with you, I would probably ask him more of a Tampa Bay Buccaneers related question, like a John Gruden question.
This is behind the curtain. I'd ask him to play the game that he played one day at the baseball press box that I was just in stitches because he was talking, I forget who it was, to somebody else, and they were going back and forth
the name of
on
the
names
player.
of players that are like,
I know what the name
raunchy,
of the player.
and like one of them, I'll share one of them, goes, Dick Pole. And then he just starts laughing. And the other guy starts, and they go back and forth on great names. I'd say, Gene, can we play that game, please?
I know the name that he named and that we wouldn't be able we cannot use it here. No, but that was a name of a real player. Yeah. No, Gene was funny that way, but he seemingly liked everybody or likes everybody. And so I don't know that there's anything to ask.
Rusty is the first name of the person.
That's
go
right.
ahead.
Rusty is the first
Go
name.
Google it.
Yeah. If we're going to not go further than that. Let's get to another question. Hello, Jeff, Pot Pie, and G.I. Jane. Last week, Ira was trying to talk about how a lack of return on investment would eventually self-correct the NIL landscape. However, how is the current situation much different from the last 50 years of boosters investing tens of thousands to millions in programs in the form of buying players under the table with little or no payoff, but continuing the payouts seemingly endlessly? Thanks, Jimmy.
The difference, I would say, and I said this in the first hour, is that it's the breadth, the depth of the money and payments is going to be so much more widespread and so much bigger in terms of volume. Because again, I would say, and I'm, man, in an SEC team, in a corrupt SEC team that would bag men's around every corner, I would think maybe 10, 15 guys were getting large payments. There might have been more getting some money, but maybe 10 guys are getting 10 to 15 guys, large payments. Now, I think you're going to see, I don't know, 50, 60. I mean, it's just, so that, to me, that part of it, there's still, the money's not infinite. And you could just select it on a select few, put it on a select few. Now it's going to have to be really wide.
Come back, wrap it up momentarily. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother. But, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true. But I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
This is Kyle, service manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service Program with guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 berry books to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
Now go call Seminole Glass. They'll get on the road and get it done fast.
Your local family-owned glass company, serving the Big Bend for over 15 years. At Seminole Auto Glass, we care about your safety. Insurance will send you wherever it benefits them, not the quality of service. There's a difference in auto glass companies. Trust your local auto glass experts. Seminole Auto Glass.
They handle any kind of broken glass, and you know who they are.
Better call Seminole.
Dirty exterior? Don't scrub it. Wet it and forget it. Wet and Forget, the easy outdoor cleaner. Wet and Forget works over time with Mother Nature to eliminate unsightly black and green stains on the exterior of your home with no scrubbing, power washing, or bleach. Use Wet and Forget on all your outdoor surfaces, including decks, siding, roofs, and patios. Wet and Forget's available in a concentrate or extreme reach hose-in. Purchase Wet and Forget in store or online at Lowe's, Menards, Ace, or Walmart.
Angie's List is now Angie, your home for everything home. With Angie, you could cross your next project off your to-do list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need, and we'll handle the rest. Sending a top pro to get it done. Or browse reviews, compare quotes from pros, and connect instantly. All for free. For everything from routine maintenance to a dream remodel. Because however you want your project done, we'll get it done. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.
Many orthodontists in Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. The experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of the latest techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have a more complicated case requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last a lifetime.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
All right, wrapping it up on Seminole Headlines. A few more headliner questions before we take off for the day. So this one comes from Squin67.
Or maybe S-Quinn.
S-Quinn67.
Or Squin.
Or Squin. Writes, yay, sausage. Great weekend on the diamond for the Noles. It's better to be hot going into the postseason than it is hot at the beginning of the season. My football question for you, though. Who are the 5 current FSU offensive players with the highest draft potential? Oof. Boy, 5, huh? Got to grab 5?
I mean,
that's a toughie.
Are we talking about for this coming year or in the program?
Down the line. I think he's saying just are there offensive players? I mean, I don't know of 5 that I would identify just yet, but Benson, let's go with Benson being a player that has the potential for a high draft grade offensively.
Is Micah Pittman, I mean, no matter what he does, how productive would Micah Pittman at his size have to be to get drafted?
I think pedigree will help push him into the middle rounds too. NFL teams love that when they know that you know what the NFL is all about.
So that's 2.
He plays bigger than he is, so all that stuff. But he is really undersized, so that'll hurt him. That's 2. Definitely no tight ends.
Johnny Wilson, if he starts catching the football from a measurable standpoint, he's going to jump out.
But I was looking for that wince. You got that wince, Ira, right away.
You know what? Here's the thing, Tom. And Tom, you can back me up here.
I can.
There were a couple of days where Jeff Cameron was not in attendance because he had other things, other obligations.
Yeah.
Being a good dad.
Yeah, that
being with all those things.
College sports book.
Yeah.
Where Johnny Wilson looked better than he did the days. Some of the days,
and you guys immediately lamented. You were like, "Oh, and Cameron's not even here to see it because every day I was there, he wasn't any good at all."
It was like a Looney Tunes cartoon. Like he's looking away. Come on.
Yeah.
It really was. Yeah, I don't know, man. There's, I guess, potentially any of the young offensive linemen, maybe. I mean, we haven't seen Julian Armella yet.
Yeah,
possibly.
Boy, it's hard to come up with 5 now. I mean, let's be fair.
Part of the exercise here, yeah. AJ Duffy,
based on what we've seen. Now, maybe Sam McCall or Azaria Thomas, when they start playing both ways, maybe one of those guys.
I mean, you can't. The problem is you can't get to 5. If we're being reasonable here,
what an exercise this is
to get to 5.
It's we need TBA. It's TBA, Jeff.
Obviously.
It's TBA.
Yeah.
There's some complimentary pieces.
Nice. Like, way to bring it full
drafted
circle.
to ACC Network because Dylan Gibbons is already trying very hard and auditioning for the TV gig.
Yeah,
he's ready to go.
He's good at it, actually. Yeah, he could do it. He's already refining his technique.
We can't get a 5 right now. We can't get a 5 that we feel strongly about will be drafted.
That was sobering.
Donnie writes, speaking of NIL, if you were some corn-fed offensive lineman, would you rather be slanging some
Robert Scott?
No.
In a couple of years, maybe
as a guard, maybe as a guard.
Late round.
I'm gonna keep throwing names at you as we continue.
Yeah, late round.
What you know about Bless Harris?
Well, maybe. Speaking of NIL, if you were a corn-fed offensive lineman, would you rather be slanging some smoked sausage or some crappy healthcare app? Ben, just pay them an andouille.
Ben, make it happen.
Come on, Ben.
Ben could be our Ruiz, our life wallet. Get it done.
It's a toughie. RA writes, gentlemen, do you think the FSU press room will have the Corey Clark question to Norvell on a plaque similar to the Tebow plaque after FSU wins the 2025 college football playoff? And will Ira tell ESPN that he originally was going to fire Corey after that question when the 30 for 30 comes out? Good.
That's a fair question.
You will never see. You will never see.
You got to get more breathy.
Speaking of which, and I'm not going to go too far into details, but one of my oldest just graduated from that school, and he was the commencement speaker, and so there was a good.
Was he breathy?
There was a lot of conversation in the family afterwards about our feelings about Tim Tebow. So that was I keep coming back to. He's done a lot of good things in the world. He's done a lot of good things.
Done some good things.
He's done some good things. He's done some good charitable.
He didn't hit for power.
Thanks for filling in for Corey Clark, Tom. Good work out of Ira. Thanks, Director Matthew. Thanks to all of you. We'll talk to you next time. Be well, everybody.
Get better, Corey.